You and I understand that one of the powerful components that makes a Windows 10 system so useful is services. It's kind of like a middleware layer between the hardware and the applications. In this nugget, you and I are going to get our hands dirty when it comes to managing these services. Probably not a surprise to you, this is a hands-on lab nugget, so if you'd like, launch the lab from the main course page. There's a snap-in called Services for the Microsoft Management Console, and that's our main graphical user interface tool for managing services. An easy way to get to that snap-in is to right-click the Start menu and choose the Computer Management option. This Microsoft Management Console has an area called Services and Applications, and there is the Services tool that we're discussing. Notice for the Bluetooth hands-free service, for instance, we can right-click it and start it because it is currently stopped. But we can also go into its properties. On the General tab, we get service name, display name, and description, the path to the executable, and then, very important, we get the startup type for this service. This is set to manually start, so it's not started unless we start it. We could disable it. We could set it to automatically start with Windows or automatically delayed start, which means don't start right away when the machine boots. Pretty cool. Notice that we have buttons here to control like starting, stopping, pausing, and resuming, and we could even start with some start parameters. This service would run as a particular account, the local service account, or we could specify another one. This is oftentimes the case if your service needs to reach out to another computer. What you do is you set it up to run as a user that's acceptable on that other computer. Pretty cool. The Recovery tab says what would happen if this failed. We can set up actions to take on the first failure, second failure, subsequent failures. And then next we have the Dependencies tab, which is so cool. It shows us what services we depend on, which would be the Bluetooth support service, and then it shows us any services that might depend on this particular service we're looking at. So very, very cool that this tab exists because some services are required for other services. Now, services are so critical, there must be command line options and PowerShell options for managing them, and there are. So let's go to a command prompt. Let's launch it as an administrator, and let's see one way at the command prompt we could stop a service, for instance. Let's do net stop and then spooler. This will stop the print spooler service. Awesome. Now let's do a net start spooler, and hopefully we start that service again, and as you can see, we do. There's another way we can do this, and it's using the SC command. So you can say SC stop spooler, and it will not only stop it, notice there's a stop pending, but give you more information about the service. And then we could say SC start spooler, and you got to spell spooler correctly, which is problematic for me. And now you can see that we're starting up that service again. In order to get status information, by the way, with this tool, you would do SC query, and you could say spooler, and we see, okay, yep, we have started it successfully. It is currently running. What about PowerShell, though? Let's launch PowerShell as an administrator. So we'll go down here, we'll say Power, and we'll right-click and run PowerShell as an administrator, and let's see how we could manipulate services here in PowerShell. As you might guess, it's going to be super simple. We can do stop service. Remember, you can use tab here to help you with your commands. And then you'd say name, and we'll say spooler. Oh, once again, spelling counts. Let's try that again. And there we go. We just stopped that spooler service. How about start service, name, spooler, in order to start the service? What about getting information, though, about the status of the service? In fact, we feel a little uncomfortable here because it didn't really give us feedback, did it? Well, you can always use the get service in order to get information. So we'll do get service, And this will list all of the services. We could have obviously trimmed this list by giving a specific name, but we look in here at the spooler service and we see that yes, these commands did work and that it is currently running. Now, if you think that services are actually causing you a major problem and you want to restart your system without the key services running, then there's a way to do that, remember. We'll come in here and we'll type msconfig. This will get us to the system configuration window, and notice right here on the General tab that we can do a selective startup and we can choose to not load the system services and to not load the startup items. Pretty cool. Something else that you'll want to remember is that the event viewer is going to be key for us when it comes to services that might be experiencing problems. So you'd come into your Windows logs, you'd go to the system, for example, and you would look for any log messages that are being reported as a result of the source of Service Control Manager. Look at this. So here there is a print extensions and notifications service that is giving us a message, an error message specifically. Thanks to the graphical user interface, thanks to the command prompt, thanks to PowerShell, we have a lot of control over services in the Windows 10 environment. Remember, there may be services that you want to stop. There may be services that you want to configure to start in a delayed manner with Windows. There may be errors that you want to discover in the event viewer based on services. We looked at all of that in this Hands-On Lab Nugget together. I hope you found this nugget informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.